They didn't reject you, they controlled you, and the cruelest part? You thanked them for the crumbs they threw your way. You called it love when they starved you of affection, then gave you just enough attention to keep you begging for more. You celebrated when they texted you back after 3 days. You felt grateful when they finally said they missed you after weeks of silence. You thought you were being chosen when you were actually being trained. If this feels like I'm reading your mind, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, what's the smallest gesture that made you feel chosen by someone who was clearly using you? I read every single comment, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Listen to me carefully. That person who rejected you, they knew exactly what they were doing. They studied your hunger for love like a scientist studying a lab rat. They learned that you would accept almost nothing and call it everything. They discovered that your self-worth was so fragmented that you would mistake breadcrumbs for a banquet. They watched you light up when they gave you the bare minimum. They saw how you would rationalize their coldness as them being complicated or hurt. They understood that you confused inconsistency with intensity. This isn't about them being a terrible person. This is about you not understanding your own value. John Bowlby, the psychologist who studied human attachment, discovered that we learn how to love based on our earliest experiences. If you grew up believing love was scarce, conditional, or something you had to earn through perfect behavior, then you entered adulthood already programmed to accept less than you deserve. You learned to be grateful for scraps because scraps felt safer than asking for the whole meal. But here's what nobody tells you about rejection. It's often just someone showing you exactly who they are. And when someone shows you they're incapable of seeing your worth, that's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of their capacity. A broken vending machine doesn't make the coins worthless. An empty well doesn't make your thirst invalid. You keep calling it rejection, but let me give you a different word: liberation. Every person who couldn't love you properly just cleared the path for someone who can. Every person who made you beg for basic respect just showed you what you should never tolerate again. Every person who controlled you by starving you of love just revealed exactly how much love you're willing to live without. The pain you feel isn't from being rejected. The pain comes from finally seeing the truth. You were willing to accept so little that even nothing felt like something. You were so hungry for love that you mistook control for care, manipulation for affection, and intermittent reinforcement for genuine interest. You confused being needed with being loved. You thought someone's inability to let you go meant they valued you, when it actually meant they valued what you did for them. Carl Rogers, one of the founders of humanistic psychology, talked about unconditional positive regard, the idea that healthy love doesn't come with conditions, games, or power plays. Real love doesn't make you anxious. It doesn't leave you wondering where you stand. It doesn't require you to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's limited capacity for giving. Real love doesn't control you by starving you, then feeding you just enough to survive. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't need to be chosen to be worthy. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's ability to recognize it. Some people are colorblind. That doesn't mean the sunset isn't beautiful. Some people are emotionally unavailable. That doesn't mean you're unlovable. Some people can only love in broken ways. That doesn't mean you're meant to be loved in broken ways. The person who rejected you did you a favor they probably didn't even intend. They showed you exactly how much love you're willing to accept. They revealed the places where you compromise your dignity. They exposed the parts of you that are still wounded from childhood, still believing that love is something you have to earn, rather than something you deserve simply for existing. They showed you where your boundaries should be, but aren't. Alfred Adler understood that our early experiences create what he called our lifestyle, the unconscious blueprint we use to navigate relationships. If your blueprint says, "I'm not enough," then you'll unconsciously seek out people who confirm that belief. You'll be attracted to unavailable people, because available people feel foreign, even boring. You'll mistake drama for passion and chaos for chemistry. But trauma isn't your fault. Healing is your responsibility. And healing starts with recognizing that every person who couldn't love you properly was simply operating at their capacity. A person who gives you crumbs isn't withholding a feast from you. They genuinely don't have a feast to offer. A person who controls you by starving you of love isn't capable of feeding you properly. Let me tell you what emotional starvation looks like. It's when someone makes you feel like you're asking for too much when you ask for basic consideration. It's when they make you feel needy for wanting consistency. It's when they treat your emotional needs like they're unreasonable demands. It's when they give you just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to feel secure. Stop calling it rejection. Start calling it redirection. The universe has a way of moving the wrong people out of your path to make room for the right ones. But first, you have to become the right person for yourself. You have to stop accepting love that comes with conditions, games, and power struggles. That means developing what Nathaniel Branden called healthy self-esteem. Not thinking you're better than others, but knowing your inherent worth regardless of external validation. It means learning to give yourself the love you keep seeking from people who don't have it to give. It means understanding that being alone is not a punishment, it's preparation. When you truly love yourself, unavailable people become unattractive. When you know your worth, you stop accepting less than you deserve. When you heal your attachment wounds, you stop confusing chaos with chemistry and start recognizing genuine love when it shows up. When you understand your value, you stop being grateful for crumbs and start expecting the whole meal. The person who rejected you saved you from a lifetime of settling. They freed you from the exhausting job of trying to earn love from someone incapable of giving it. They pushed you toward the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. They showed you exactly what you should never accept again. You were never rejected. You were redirected. You were never unwanted. You were simply wanting the wrong things from the wrong people. You were seeking love from people who could only offer control. You were asking for nourishment from people who could only provide starvation. Your worth isn't up for negotiation. Your love isn't meant to be earned through perfect behavior. Your presence isn't something you have to justify. Your needs aren't too much for the right person. The right person won't make you question your value. They won't leave you analyzing every text message or wondering where you stand. They won't use your love as a weapon against your self-esteem. They won't control you by starving you of affection, then feeding you just enough to keep you around. So thank that person who rejected you. They just cleared the way for your real life to begin. The life where you choose people who choose you back. Where love flows freely instead of being rationed like wartime supplies. Where you finally understand that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. Where you never again mistake emotional starvation for love. You weren't rejected. You were rescued. Now start acting like it.